about ready to go too. It's just shortly after our kickoff time.
I'm good to go. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, this is always the trickiest part, is making sure I've got the right one going. Okay, thank you, everybody. What we're going to do is go ahead and go through a series of the whole setup process from the very beginning, and we want to give some basic information. Is everyone seeing Winlink? Do I have the right screen shared?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. Want to set a little bit of parameters around the training tonight. So what this training truly is designed is for people who have not used Winlink in the past. We'll go through the setup, the installation, number of tips and tricks. We'll go through setting up contacts, group messaging, and then do both the ICS 213 general message as well as the ARC, the Red Cross version of the 213, give you a little bit of introductory to what's going to be happening for our drill that's coming up on November 14th, and give you just some overview. We ask that you either raise your hand or preferably put it in the chat box if you do have questions. I really prefer, I find it works most efficiently if we walk through this process together, and then we kind of repeat, I tend to kind of go back and come through it a second time because not everyone catches it the first time through. I know I don't always. And then we'll answer some questions, but once we're through the presentation, Dave and I will both be glad to answer many more questions. I'm the one that's usually volunteering to give the presentation, and Dave definitely is the technical powerhouse of our team. And so what this training, though, is not designed to do is to assist you with your individual radio setup. There's simply not enough time in this evening's session to be able to do that. We're not going to talk about, can you run this on Linux? There's information out there on YouTube if you wish to do that. So this really is for our beginning people. But like I said, we always try and get some tips and tricks. There's other opportunities that Dave and I've done, and then other on YouTube and such, for setting up using Packet, Vara, Winmore, peer-to-peer, etc. So for now, the information that we did send out before the meeting talked about actually downloading the Winlink software to your computer to be able to do that. But before we go to that step, you'll notice when you go to your winlink.org, and that's where we're starting all of our discussions, is winlink.org. And you have a spot here that's for My Account. It's really important to know that that exists, because you'll see that.
Okay, Linda, I don't mean to interrupt, but all we're seeing
Please.
is your RMS Express window. Are you on winlink.org?
I am on winlink.org.
Yeah, you're maybe sharing the wrong window.
I probably am. Let me do a new share. There we go. I'd hoped I had it all
there you go.
in one. Oh, thank you. Please let me know as we go along if I don't have the right screen up. So again, if we go to winlink.org, on their banner here, we'll end up going into the download to go through that process. But it's really important to know that you've got your My Account here. And when you can log into that, and if you don't remember, your username is always your call sign. If you don't remember your password, if I were to log out here and come back in, so you don't remember your password, it allows you to go ahead and do that, to be able to do a recovery. And we'll talk about setting up your email address within the setup so you'll be able to do a password recovery. And then also, if you don't have your registration, when you sign in, it also will show your registration number if you've registered previously. So it's really helpful to know that that exists. So for now, let's go ahead and jump into what we had as our initial training of how do we go ahead and download the software. So we start here at winlink.org. We go to download. You go to user programs. And then you're always looking for this Winlink Express install. And this is, I guess the version's even changed since last week. They're now on 1-5-32. So you click on that zip. And then once it's done downloading for yourself, you'll have to go then to your, open it up from your downloads. So let that finish running, and I'll back up just a step and walk through those couple of pieces of information again. So program takes just a couple of minutes to be able to go ahead and do the download itself. Again, to step back then, go to winlink.org, go to download, you go to user programs, and you go to your install link. Then once that's been accomplished, trying to get that so it's showing quite so much. Dave, are you seeing my Winlink Express setup?
No, we're still in the downloads screen.
Okay. I was hoping I could grab just my main instruction, but that doesn't seem to be happening. Okay. Well, I'll share into the Winlink. Once you launch go through your zip process, you will go ahead and get the Winlink icon, and you can see here at the bottom of my screen. Dave, you are seeing the Winlink Express now?
No, we're in your message window.
Yeah, we're in RMS Express.
Yes, so the Winlink Express or RMS Express, you can see this checkerboard type symbol. When I do my install, I like to be able to put that on my desktop. I'm usually into Winlink every single week. So this checkerboard, you can ask that it puts it onto your desktop or not as you choose, but you're looking for your Winlink Express as the program that you're going to go ahead and be opening. Okay, is everyone to that point? Do they have any questions at this point?
Someone's asking about where can new accounts be created.
Barry, can you say that again?
Someone is asking where new accounts can be created.
That's where we're going to next.
Okay.
Okay. So if everyone's gotten to the point, yours won't look like mine because obviously I've been using mine for some time. So the next step that you go to is you go to Settings and you go to Winlink Express Setup. And here's where we do our initial setup, and we'll also talk about if you do or don't choose to pay the voluntary $25 fee. At the very minimum, what you need to do is put in your call sign and your password, and it is case sensitive, so you wish to be aware of that. And you do want to put in your recovery email address. So it's really important you do that because, again, if you forget your password, forget your registration number, you're able to do that. Now, for myself, I do have in my contact information, but what is also a very vital piece to go ahead and take care of is to put in your grid square. And if someone hasn't done that before, you can go to, the one I like is levinecentral.com, and I go ahead and go back to my see if this will let me stay in my right one. Dave, are you seeing the Maidenhead one?
Yes.
Oh, good. I finally think I picked the right screen to share. So again, if I was looking for my particular grid square, this is, like I said, levinecentral.com, and first one, you can just go in what you're looking for, but it's /ham/grid_square.com. .php. There's many programs out there. If you just Google Grid Square Maidenhead, it'll find it for you. But you type in your address, you click submit, and it'll come up showing the map of where you're located and what your grid square is. For myself, that's EL29GQ. And it also shows my border of where my grid square is. And what makes this especially valuable is when we go into our settings here. And Dave, is it staying on my screen now that I switch back to the Winlink?
Yes, it is. You're good.
Oh, good. Got over that hurdle. When you put in your grid square, when you do get to that, you're doing the RF type messages as opposed to Telnet, and you're able to look up what your local digipeters are. If you have your grid square filled in, it will provide you with the most likely digipeters that you're going to be able to use. And I find when I travel, if I go ahead and update this grid square here, it will then, once you do an upload to refresh the list of digipeters, it will bring up whatever area you're in. So I was in Austin for some training. I looked up, put in the Austin grid square. When I went to choose my digipeters, it had my list of Austin in there. One of the other things that gets discussed often, so notice down here under service codes, we use public for ham call signs. Now there's another one out there called MPOM, and although we are allowed to use that in emergencies, we don't want those lists of digipeters coming up when it's not an emergency type situation. So I always keep mine as public. Now,
And when Linda's referring to digipeters, she's referring to RMS gateways. And
yeah,
so
apologize.
we do have some RMS gateways that use the MCOM service code, but they are dedicated to MCOM use, and we don't use them generally for public traffic. So again, that's something we do in our region. It may vary by area.
Thanks, Dave. And then also at this point, if you can go ahead and click to go ahead and enter to save this. It'll ask you if you want to voluntarily pay the $25 fee to register your software. If you don't, you can just click on no to continue, and it's not intuitive because you have to click no to continue without registering it and paying the fee. But if you are going to pay the fee, then they'll send you an email with your registration key on it. So was everyone able to get in your call sign, create a password, put your grid square in there, and then do, excuse me, your call sign, your password, your email address, and your grid square? Any questions on getting it to that point? So again, when you...
Elizabeth has her hand up.
Dave, do you want to take that?
Go ahead, Elizabeth. What's your question, please? I believe you're on mute.
All right, now it's better. Okay, the question was that I had changed my name to include Billings, Montana, but it didn't appear on the screen here. So something happened in the meantime. It is now taken care of. I'm from Billings, Montana. Thank you.
Without seeing your screen, Elizabeth, the only thing I can think of is to go ahead and click the save and then come back into it and see if it does hold it for you the second time around.
I think she's referring to her Zoom screen.
I'm fine now.
Oh, okay. Great.
Right?
Thank you, Elizabeth.
And Linda, let me just mention in the chat that we do have some of the Winlink development team actually answering some of the questions. So we've really got some expertise here this
Oh,
evening.
fantastic.
Good stuff.
I appreciate that tremendously. The sessions are always much more fun when we have some experienced team members and that are contributing also to that. Okay, so if everyone has their initial settings taken care of then for this, you go back into settings, and before you start sending messages, what I prefer to do is to set up contacts. And so you can see here on my screen that here in Harris County, we have a district, District 14, and it's divided into 4 units. And so each of our 4 units has a series of individuals that they choose to have receive Winlink messages each week for their nets. And so for that purpose and for other purposes, I go ahead and fill out, add contacts to this. And so the way to do that is you want to add it. You want to put in their name. And then you also, let's see, if I put in Dave's again. And then his email address is just his call sign. And you do not need to do the @winlink.org. That's a common misconception. So you put the person's name, you put their email, which is just their call sign. If you were going to be sending a communication outside of Winlink, you'd want to send it then @winlink.org, but you do not, when you create our messages, as we will tonight, do that. And for myself, I put my notes. So for myself, this one would be, Dave is our D14 DEC. And so you keep doing that, repeating that, save it, and building up. Here's most of my hams that receive Winlink messages on a regular basis from me. So you just keep repeating that process of adding them. So why don't you go ahead and add in a couple of your local hams, and you want to make sure to add yourself, but you also want to add yourself a second time using your personal email address, because when we send messages, we want to confirm that the message actually was transmitted. And one of the easiest ways to be able to have that happen is to send it to your email address. And so when I send my messages on the weekends for our nets, I also send it to my home email address, and then I'm sure that it went. And that way, if it's ever questioned, I can double check if it did go out. So again, to get to that spot, you go to Settings and Contacts. And does anyone have any questions getting to this point, getting a couple of them set up? And Dave, it looks like we've got, Anna has her hand raised.
Yes, I have the option of mail server in that field of adding contact. Which mail server do I choose, or do I leave it as none?
I always leave the server blank. I've not had any issues with not filling that in.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we have a couple more people with questions. My screen just shows 2 participants with raised hands. Do we have another question?
Yeah, let's take Joe's question first. Joe?
You answered it. Thank you.
Okay, what's another question?
Okay, let's go ahead and go on then and talk about setting up a group address. And this is the one that I use the most often. I have a group address that's called Harris County Aries, and then I pick and choose from the individuals that are on my contact list who I wish to put in or remove from this group address. And so we can add a group. It could be Aries SEC. So you create a group. Oh, excuse me, create the group name, and then you can start choosing people that you wish to put in the group. So you add a person to a group. And then click that you're finished. And so now I've got a new group called Aries SEC, and I've put Dave and myself into that group. And we go ahead and save that. So now I've got a second group here called Aries SEC, and that'll become very handy when we go on to actually creating messages.
And you may notice it should have put an underscore between Aries and SEC, although she left a space there. So
Yes, so you can see here that it does take that space and turn it into an underscore for us. Any questions on creating a group and then putting people into the group?
We have two here. Now we have one, Bob, N0YWB.
Yeah, my question's not about this, but I wanted to do some testing, make sure my sound levels are right for an HF telnet or HF RDOP session. Can I create an arbitrary call sign, or do I have to register another user in the Winlink? I'm trying to do this testing with dummy loads, so it really won't be going over the air.
I think you can just send it to yourself or just have another ham friend. I've never done a, kind of a bogus name for testing purposes.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could create a, N0YWB-1 or something like that. Would it be treated separately to Winlink or?
Well, we certainly have tactical call signs. Dave, I don't know if you can answer that briefly.
right. Well, you can also create a N0YWB-1 as well. So you could actually create another account. Or there's people volunteering. We have Ron from Billings, Montana, who says you can send him one for WN7Y. So there you go.
All right, I don't want to hold you up, so I'll bow.
Okay, so once you've created your group address, you can go ahead and click Save and Close. And again, the group addresses is under Settings and Group Addresses. And so you can add a group, add people to the group, and being able to use that. Then the next step is we want to go ahead and create a message. So we're just going to do a real basic message. So you go to Message, New Message. Now, if you click on the 2 here, it brings up not only all of your contacts, but it also brings up a list of your groups down here at the bottom. So I can, instead of having to type in manually Dave's call sign, my call sign, I can send it to both of us, or I can just pick any of the people on our list here. So I could choose, if I wanted to just send it to Dave, it'll say Dave Underwood, but I don't have to remember his call sign because it's got it there for us. So again, if you click on the 2 word itself, you can choose people from your groups or your contacts that you've already set up. And that saves a lot of time as far as I'm concerned. The next step and let me go ahead and we'll go ahead and close this and open it back up. So again, you go to Message, New Message, click on the 2. You can either manually type it in or choose who you wish to send it to. Then the next step that you go to is to select the form that you wish to use. Although you can just do message right here, what I always use is the actual ARC213 itself. So if you click on the template link here within your message itself, you'll see it brings up a list for you. Click on the plus sign and it brings up a long list. Now we'll go back into the ARC, the Red Cross forms, in a little while. We'll come through this a second time. But you'll see the ICS USA forms. You click on the plus symbol there, and there's quite a few of our different forms that are already built in, embedded into Winlink for us. So you double click on the ARC213 form, and it brings up the form. Now, we can do Aries SEC training session. And I'm going to send this to, at this point, you can type in whoever you wish to type in. So we've already taken the message itself and said we're sending it to Dave. But here, I could put in, D14 DEC. So this field here does not drive who the message gets delivered to. And then this would be from myself. And then can again repeat. So it's going to the Aries SEC Training Telnet. Click on the date and it'll pre-fill it for you. Click on the time and it can pre-fill it for you. Now, the actual drill itself that we're going to be doing on November 14th, we have a little bit different style that we're going to be using on the ARC form itself. But what I usually do for myself, for my weekly, and there's a variety of ways that you can do this. There's not, unless you're prescribed by someone to do it in a certain way, I'm just going to show you what I usually do. So I usually just put the stars there, exercise only. You could put drill only. So I'll put my call sign, W5LDK. I'm in grid square EL29GQ. And I'm in Linda in Houston, Texas. I'm sending this via Telnet. Then I come down here and I put in my call sign and that I'm an amateur radio operator. But what you could also do here is that who the message is from, you might be sending traffic on behalf of somebody else. And so you'd be using your from and then your approved by based on what kind of message you're going to be transmitting. Also, we can go ahead and submit this. And I'm going to go ahead and it just asks, just confirming that I'm ready to close my window. I'm going to go ahead and make up a second one on this. So I come back to my Winlink, and this one is now ready to go. And we're going to come back through this a second time. I'm going to post it to my outbox. You notice it's here as a Winlink message. You can do radio only, you can do peer-to-peer, but we're looking just at our Winlink this evening. We'll discuss this again in more detail. Here's the portion where you X. If I want Dave to send back a confirmation that he got my message, this is where you click it. And that way, when he reads my message, it requests him to confirm that he did send or did receive it. And that's where that takes place. So we'll go ahead and post this to my outbox. And we'll go ahead and walk through this again. So you go to message, new message, who I wish to send it to, the template I wish to use. So the ICS forms, double click on 213, it brings it up. And this could, again, be from someone other than myself. Fill in the date and the time by just clicking in the field for yourself. This time, although we're going to be sending this telnet, I'm going to fill it out the way that I normally will if I'm sending a weekly radio message. So again, it would be W5LDK, my grid square, EL29GQ, Linda, Houston, Texas. And so maybe I would instead be sending this via Houston, or let's see, N5WAJ11 446 150 megahertz by Houston American Red Cross. My local chapter is just up the street, and they have a couple of RMS gateways that we use. I would then go on to say that I use an ICOM 7100 and that I'd be at 35 watts, and I use a beam antenna that's at 50 feet. And so this would be a much more typical radio message that I would be sending just for my weekly check-ins for my nets. So what your call sign is in your grid square, then my name and location, that it's going via the local Red Cross chapter, what its RMS gateway, what my equipment is, what my power is, and what antenna I'm using and what height I have on that. Now also for the drill that we've got, they're asking for GPS coordinates. And that's very easy to find. You can find this particular one I'm using, and it's one that was suggested by this team, is GPS-coordinates.net. So again, I filled in my address, and it comes with a Latin long. And this one does have it the way we want it, which has got a comma in the center of that. Oh, I think I lost my message there. Let's find it again. Here we go. Or not. I might be doing that one again. It's always a danger when you're.
You do have one in your outbox, by the way. I don't know if that's.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and send that. But I wanted to show everyone that we could get the latitude and longitude. So instead of grid square, if that's what they're asking for, we can go ahead and do that.
I think your original one still, your next tab over on your ICS 213 National is still up there in your browser is where it was.
See if I find it. I think I'll go ahead and close this one. There we go. But at least now you have where you can find your latitude and longitude. So at this point now, we do have the message that we've created. And I'll go ahead and X that request message received and post it back to the outbox. So up here, you notice open session. I apologize if the pull down is showing on your screen. I know it is on mine. Notice open session. This is where we choose how we're going to transmit the message. Tonight, we're just going to walk through Telnet Winlink. However, you can do your packet Winlink for your dual bands. You can do Winmore for your HF bands, RDOP, bar HF, bar voice, or bar FM, excuse me, packet peer-to-peer, VARA peer-to-peer. So there's a lot of different choices just by going into your open session. But again, tonight we're going to just do the Telnet. And so now that you've chosen the mode that you're going to send this in, you just, sorry, my pull down keeps showing up. You just choose open session and your Telnet Winlink session appears and you just click start. And it very quickly, when you're using Telnet, runs through your whole sequence of the message that it's going to be sending, confirms that it got to the end of the send of the message, how many it sent, and how many it received. And I know one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got on working with Winlink is from our local SEC, Jeff Walter, is that if you're going to do multiple messages, so each week I'll, depending on which radio station I'm at, I check Telnet, I'll check my UHF, I'll check my VHF, I'll check VARA, I'll send a message possibly if I'm over at my hospital station using HF. What you really want to do is to do your first one using Telnet, because that's usually the fastest way of being able to send a message, but more importantly, to receive a message. So normally I will get maybe 10 to 15 Winlink messages each week, a variety of team members, and especially Dave Underwood likes to check every single mode and manner that is possible to do that. But I really encourage you the first time to go ahead and send your message, or at least just, you can open a Telnet session without sending a message itself. You can just go in there and check for messages. So we'll go ahead and exit because it's done its series, its whole process. So again, you just go to choose what manner you want to send it, the mode, open session, click start, runs through its whole sequence, confirms if it's sent or received any, then you can go ahead and exit. Questions to this point?
How do you put the GPS coordinate? It was part of the form, or there's a switch to put it automatically?
I believe you have to put it in yourself. I don't believe it puts it in automatically. If it can, I don't know how to do that.
Thank you.
Please use
When
the
I-
raise the hand method so we don't have people doubling with each other. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I had raised my hand about 5 minutes ago. When I was adding my own name address with my own email address, it said something about I have to do something for it to be added to a whitelist. What's that involved, and what do I have to do with that?
Did you say a whitelist?
Yeah, the program came back, said since I've added an email address for myself, it needed to do something to add it to the whitelist.
Okay.
Yeah, and I may let Phil answer this, but usually if you send yourself an email, you will be automatically added to the whitelist. Just send a message to yourself and it's added to the whitelist.
Yeah, but now that contact doesn't list in my contact list. It's gone.
Now, I can't necessarily explain that.
The only one that's there is the one that I just put in with my own call sign, which is the Winlink address.
Right.
But my
But if you
ARRL
add
one's
one,
gone.
it should be in your list.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe,
I'll try it again.
try it again and click add and make sure, you save and close.
WA3SPW here. That happened to me, and it's because I added a name without an email address. Didn't want an email address.
Okay, so you left that field blank and it did not save.
Yes,
I'll
your email would have to either be a call sign or it'd have to be a traditional email address. Additional questions at this point?
Okay, Pete, you want to bring on your question?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
If I send a message through Winlink over the air, will it show up if I connect to Telnet? Or do I have to go to that same node to retrieve the email?
No, you can retrieve any emails sent to you using any of the different modes. And that's why I said I prefer to check my Telnet first, because it'll bring down any messages that I've got waiting for me, no matter how it was transmitted to me. And so that way, if I start with doing, say, HF, which takes quite a bit longer to be able to transmit all of those messages, if I'll bring them all down Telnet. So you can send out in a variety of ways, but you can bring them down in any of the manner. It'll bring down all of the messages that are out there waiting for you.
Okay, so if I send it using Vara or Pactor or whatever over the air, it'll show up in the Telnet session. And I guess if I sent a receipt requested, it'll come to the Telnet. So I know that it went out okay.
Well, it depends if you're copying yourself on your own email address. So if you copy yourself, so for myself, the aqua793@aol.com, if I put that on there, it'll send it to my AOL account and I'll know that that message went out successfully. But then in this case, I had checked the return receipt box for Dave, that it takes until the next time Dave goes into Winlink, opens that message, that it'll request that it sends back a confirmation to me. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think the key there is that you won't get the receipt until the person you send it to actually reads it, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Madge, you're up there next.
I have used Winlink and I didn't have any problems. And I added Vera and the sound card and all that extra stuff you have to add. And now when I go into Winlink and try to open up my templates, it won't open. Do I have to reinstall everything? Or...
I'm just not sure, Midge, what would be causing you the problem. You might want to try reinstalling. I haven't had that.
I didn't want to add all of those contacts, so I probably have 40 or 50 contacts, and I just didn't want to do that again. But I guess I'll have to.
You can export. You can export your contact list.
And how would I do that?
If you're looking at my screen Again, you go into your contact list, you go to settings and
Settings.
contacts. Notice here there's an import export button.
Uh-huh.
So you can export to a file and you can then import from
So
the
I would
file.
export it to my email. Is that what?
I've not used it before.
Okay.
It actually does
I-
export to a file. And this is useful also if you have groups who want to share contacts. We've used this several times for that as well. So, yes.
Where do you send it?
Well, again, it's exporting to a file local on the PC where the RMS Express
Right.
client is running.
So you would choose where you wish to save it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Thank Midge. Chris, you want to take, in Texas, you want to take it away? Hello, Chris. KG5 BBF in Texas. Well, okay, let's jump over to Jamie. KC3QRH. Not Jamie, I'm sorry. Janice, I guess it is, KC3QRH.
Oh, I put the wrong call sign in. It's KC3ORH. I will fix that. My question is, where is the whiteboard?
I think they're referring to here when you're setting up your contacts. That
Okay.
by putting in the email address there, once you actually send using that, it'll send it to the whiteboard. Dave, do you have anything more to elaborate on that? It happens automatically. I hadn't even heard that term before.
Oh, so as soon as you send an email to someone, they'll automatically put in your contacts?
No, you'll be adding them to your whitelist. You have to still manually add the contacts.
Okay.
So the whitelist gets created automatically. You have to go into and create your contacts themselves. And then if you choose to, you can add your contacts to a group that you create.
Okay. And can you access the whitelist?
And I don't have the answer to that, but
Oh,
it
okay.
says,
I just answered that on the chat.
yeah, I see that.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
And then my second question is, when you add your own self to the contact list for email, you should use a Gmail or a Yahoo account as opposed to just putting in your call sign?
Well, what we do, and you'll see that I've got my name here with my Winlink email address, which is just W5LDK. I don't have to put @winlink.org. But also, I have myself with my AOL email address so that when I transmit a message, because occasionally it'll happen when we're checking into a net, they'll say, okay, Linda, we've got 3 or 4 different messages from you. And I go, you know, I'm sure I sent however many. Let me look at my email account and I'll get confirmation. So there's been a couple of times that it's been just a little mysterious of how a message has managed to transmit, because obviously I've gotten it to my email, yet one of the recipients does not have it in their account. So it's nice to be able to confirm in a secondary manner that it did go out.
Thank you.
And let me just read Steve's response to when you go to your account on the Winlink website, it will be within your password protected account and you can manage your whitelist from there. So in case you didn't see that in the chat.
Thank you.
One other thing that's important, if somebody sends you an email address, somebody with an email address, a standard SMTP mail address, sends a Winlink user a message, and that Winlink user has never first sent a message to that individual or that has not put it in the whitelist, that message will be rejected to the Winlink user, will be rejected unless the email originator knows to put 2 forward slashes WL2K and then a space in the subject line of the message. That will bypass the whitelist. Now, for normal users, so what? That protects you from spam and unwanted junk. But if you're in an emergency situation, you need to make certain that agencies know that anybody that you're dealing with that would utilize your system for a pathway, a transport layer, needs to understand that. Also on the whitelist, if you have a domain you want to put in, you just put the domain in, dhs.gov. Of course, you're taking a lot of chances there because there's a lot of wackos out there that emulate those government addresses, but you can do that. All that information should be in a help file. I don't know, Phil, is all that information in the help file?
And Steve, this is beyond the depth and breadth that we wish to go to on this beginning Winlink, and
Unless
we're also
it's the
going to run out of
Unless
time.
it's the executive director of the exercise that you're dealing with.
Okay. Well, I would prefer to be able to get through the training, and then
Sure.
you can do a follow-up after we're done with this initial amount. And,
Sure.
and you're welcome to come back on that and give us more information, Steve, but I'd like to get through the key points that we wanted to do this evening.
I might add here also that Steve, put stuff in chat, because when I send out the links to everybody for this video, I will include the chat. And so a lot of the questions that and answers will be answered in the chat thing there. Can we jump up to Chris and see if he's found his push to talk button yet? Chris, are you ready for ask your question? Not hearing from Chris, let's go to Bonnie.
Okay. Before we take too many more, can we step through the ARC form first and then come back around to the questions? I'd like to get through the core part of this before we hit the first hour, because not everyone is going to be able to stay around. And then we can have more questions on that. And we'll be glad to stick around and answer questions as long as you'd like us to, but we'd really like to get through this core training for this evening.
Certainly, Linda, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So again, if you go to message and new message, we're gonna pick on Dave again tonight, choose his name, add to the message. This time we're gonna choose the Red Cross form that we're gonna be using for our drill coming up on the 14th. So you click the plus on the standard templates, you click the plus in front of the ARC forms, and then you double click on the ARC213. So it is the general message, however, it's for the Red Cross, and they're asking for a little bit different information. And so what I understand from the information that's going to be coming out for us, we'll be doing the ARC drill 1120. Incident name here will be Red Cross message drill. Message says to always enter 001. Our messages are almost always routine. It'd be unusual that we'd be handling some of the others, but this would be the welfare would be a very typical message to use in a Red Cross setting in a DR disaster situation. Who I'm sending it to. Now, each of us has, based on the area that we are in the country, we have information of what our tactical addresses that we're using. So based on the area of the country, again, that you're in, so I'm down here in the Southwest group. We've got North Central, we've got all of our different areas. Based on the area that the country that you're in is the tactical address that you would choose. So for myself, I'm choosing the Southwest Rocky Mountain area. So that's the ARC Southwest. And so I would put in my ARC Southwest. And be careful with your typing. I understand that that's the most likely thing to go wrong. And I apologize again, I do manage to have another form already out there, and I'm not seeing where that is hiding. There it is. I apologize. Here we go. So we're going to be sending it to our ARC Southwest, and from myself, so W5 LDK. And for the subject, and you'll be getting this information through all the other messages that are coming out for our drill. We've got the date and time. Now there'll be additional information of what they want us to include for that. And so what I have so far, and I think this might be for just our Winlink number 5. And so it goes through and it asks you a series of questions that they're wanting you to have responses to. So again, you put in who you are and your position. And there it is. Go ahead and click submit. And it's confirming that, yes, I want to submit it. Close that. Come back to my form now is pre-populated again. And it does show again, this is the ARC213 general message, the information I've populated it with. And then if I want to go ahead and request message receipt, now given I have this going to the Southwest, that would have them then respond back to that. Given I don't truly wish to send them a message this evening, I'm going to take that off of there. But again, you'd use your tactical address, and I've got a couple of them that I use, and then the return receipt, and you post it to your outbox. At that point, it works just the same as we've done on the ICS 213s. Like I said, there's a whole series of different message forms that you can use. Again, you just click on Open Session, start your telnet, and it'll run through with sequencing. So that's the only part that really is different with being able to do the ARC213 versus the ICS 213. So we'll go ahead and exit. Now we can go back to more of the questions. And like I said, Dave and I will be glad to stick around, as well as many of the other experienced operators that are on the training this evening.
It would help if I unmute. Bonnie, go ahead.
Hi. I was just, while you were doing your thing, I had opened up my Winlink Express, and I was having trouble finding the form, the ICS 2000, ICS 213. And I don't know if you could just one more time real quick run through how to open that up.
Yep. So Bonnie, you go to the top of your screen and you see the link that says message.
Right.
You click there. You click new message. You choose who you're going to send it to and add that to your message. But then here's where you're finding those templates. So once you have the message form open up, you can select your template. And there you can see the plus sign in front of standard templates. And down here you have the plus sign in front of the ICS forms. So you would double click on the 213 to be able to launch that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I had one other quick question. I was trying to set up my contacts and myself. I had previously, when I first downloaded this, sent myself a message to my Gmail account, which worked. But then I got another message saying that there was a question about, it came directly from service, that there was someone possibly changed my password recovery address. So I'm back in my Winlink account and make sure that it was correct, and it is still correct. But I didn't know, right now in my contact list, I can't seem to keep my name and my call sign address. I should have two contacts in my contact list, and I keep on only having one, I guess. And I can't figure out why I keep on losing it. I save it. Do you have to send For a personal email, do you have to send a message to? I wasn't sure about the whiteboard.
No, you should be able to save it. The whiteboard you don't really need to interact with. So if you have the name and a email, a Winlink email, and then you also have, for my case, my name again and my email address, and then you click add as you go through each of those, and then save and close. It's really making sure you have a valid email address there.
Well, I just put in my Gmail address and that stayed. Then I put in my one with which would be my call sign, and it disappeared again.
Well, but do you notice on mine, it's got Linda_Kangas, and the other one is Linda_Kangas_W5LDK. Are you using two different names?
That's the critical thing. I found that I erased mine when I used the same name over. They have to have different word name.
Oh, I see. So probably if I put the call sign after the one.
What I did on mine is I put Gary Wilson email to indicate that that's my email as opposed to my Gary Wilson Winlink.
Okay, that makes sense. That probably solved my problem. Thank you very much.
Great, glad to help.
Thanks, Bonnie. Can we go to Bob?
Yeah, my question is you've sent a form out filled in to your web address. How do you pull that form back up so you can print it out or hand it to somebody?
So if I were to go to one of my inbox messages, and I can go ahead and just print it. So again, we were using the outbox, but I can go to my inbox, choose whichever message that I'm wanting to print, and then there's a print command right up here.
Or you can go into the sent and click on the paperclip, and it'll pull up the form within the browser. If you go into your sent, the paperclip all the way to the left, Linda.
Before I
just click on the paperclip, the yellow paperclip.
There. Oh yes, there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Of course, it does show a reply, but that is essentially what was sent, and you can print that from the browser.
So either way for yourself. Then. Again, did that answer your question?
Gary? Okay, let's move on to Chris. He's back again. Chris, take it away.
Okay, you got me now?
We got you now, Chris. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Well, it kept saying I was unmuted. It kept saying I was unmuted, but I obviously wasn't. Are you going to talk about later? If I bring up a template, and a lot of this stuff we're doing has got standard stuff you fill in as the information you're sending, and you do it again and again. Can I save that as a template? And then when I open it up, I just fill in a current date or a change or anything?
I haven't done that myself. I know
And you can.
We've got a person who does that.
Yeah, you can save it as a template. Also, you may notice it's cached within the browser itself. You know how the browser actually caches certain fields. That's what Linda was showing as she was pulling up some of the pre-existing data that she puts into the form.
Okay, well, I figured that because I didn't know that about the paperclip, but I really would like to be able to save it as a template and then pick it up and just change the little bitty things that change on it. Like lots of times they're asking for these drills, especially they're saying, you know, where are you at? What's your equipment? What's your antenna? Blah, blah, blah. And you put all that down and you just have it from then on. Every time you pull up a template, it's already there. If you don't need it, you could wipe it out.
That's really handy. If someone, once you have a little bit more experience, I found for myself, I needed to send quite a few of these messages before I got to that point that I rather comfortably could fill out that body of the message without having to think too hard on it. And so some of that muscle memory worked really well for myself. But yeah, I know one of our team members does it all the time when he's confirming back the email messages we got for our unit for the week.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Chris. Midge is back. Midge, go ahead.
I'm with the same problem. I opened up my Winlink Express. I always download the most current version, and I noticed that the Winlink Express is 1.532.0, but my template manager is 1.0138. How can I change that template manager without redoing the whole thing? Or is there a way?
The template manager has a different update schedule, as does updating your list of your RMS gateways. So they don't necessarily stay in sync with each other, if I understand that correctly. Because I'll get a request to update the software, and I'll also get a request to update other items separately. So anytime it asks you to update something, I just update it.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Help if I unmute myself. Thanks, Midge. Let's bring in, looks like Jay, you're up.
Hey, Linda, you somehow went to somewhere to find your name and position on the form that you're showing here on the screen, the ARC Southwest, and I didn't see where you got that. That's kind of what I was trying to figure out. You be able to find out on your Red Cross message there. You went somewhere else to get that information, and
Are you asking for my grid square or for my Red Cross? Okay, here.
There you go. What is that?
That'll come out from your team for the drill.
Okay,
and so I've gotten this on other, like the Winlink Thursday emails that have been coming out. They've shared our different divisions, which does align with the Red Cross divisions, and then the tactical call signs that they've set up to correspond with that. And so that's helping to direct you for the drill and for the practice sessions on Thursday nights, who you send it to.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I missed that part, and I was like trying to find it on the template. It's like, where did she get that information?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And Gary.
Thank you. Hey, Jay, that was my question too, but I do have another one. If you just want to check your mail, you just go in and start a session?
Yes. Just I go into Telnet and just start my session. It'll bring down whatever messages I have waiting for me, no matter what mode that was used to send them.
All right. And one more. I was able to send to my Gmail. And when I set up for my call sign, I'm not receiving. I should be receiving something in my inbox in Winlink, correct? If I send something, okay. So that means that's not working. I'll work on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I think we got Janice back up again. Go ahead.
Uh-oh, I just had a senior moment because I just forgot what my question was.
Uh-oh, we never have those. Why don't you hold on to that? We'll let Randy go and come back to you. Randy, go ahead and take it, and we'll come back to Janice.
Okay, this is Randy in California. I notice there's two Randys logged in tonight. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you fine.
Okay, this is a comment to one of the gentlemen that asked about, can you save a template and then bring it up later and just maybe change the date and the time on it? Yes, you can. When you open up the template, at the bottom of the template form, after you fill all your stuff in, it gives you the option to submit it. But if you look to the left of that, it'll say save or save form or something with the word save in it. And then if you save it, it will save it in a file, and you can bring it up later and it will bring back up everything you put in the form. Then all you have to do is update the date and the time. And when you do that, you open up the form again, and it gives you the function to, or the option to load template or load form. And if you click on that, it will bring the one that you saved up with the data that you put in it. And then all you got to do is change the date and the time.
Linda, do you want to bring up an ICS 213 and show, start a new message? we can perhaps demonstrate that. Just select a template. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I think.
So over here,
Yeah, yeah. So you would fill it out and click on that, and then you can submit it. But it's saved, and you can bring it back up when you open up the form again. If you notice at the top it says load, top center, yeah, you would click that. It would bring back all the data in the form that you saved, and of course you could change your time and date as needed, or text.
excellent. Yeah, especially I check different RMS gateways each week, so then you could just edit whatever gateway you're using. That's cool.
By the way, this is Gary Wilson. I just practiced sending one of those messages, and I thought it was interesting is when I put my own name as approved by, it found my position title as Assistant Section Manager from my Winlink registration form when you put in all your data about yourself. So obviously, so it'll be looking through your own record for yourself to find the
Actually,
position
that
and
probably
title.
was cached within your browser, I would imagine, because
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's that linkage.
Oh, but I didn't type it. It came up.
Interesting. Yeah.
All righty. Let's refrain if we can from just jumping in here. Janice, are you back? Are you ready with your question?
Yes, I put in my contacts, I put my call sign under Janice, and then I also put my email address, which is my call sign at gmail.com. When I went to send a message and I clicked on to, only my address with my email, gmail.com, came up.
And Janice, we were just talking about that. You need to give it 2 different names. So if you see here on my screen, I'm Linda Kangas for my Winlink address. And then I'm Linda Kangas with my call sign for my email address.
Got it.
And so you
Okay.
have to have 2 different names. And you could put Linda Kangas email, but you have to have 2 different names or you're just copying back over yourself over and over.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Janice.
Okay, Pete, I think we already got you, did we not? Okay, I'm not hearing from Pete.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Had to find the unmute. It may be not going to cover this tonight, but I was hoping to go over the different RF modes, such as Pactor and Packet.
And as I said at the beginning, Pete, that's not what we're going to be covering.
No, I understand that, but
this.
is there going to be a follow-up or anything that covers that sort of thing?
We'll look into doing that. That's a good idea. We need to get everybody on board for the upcoming drill, and we'll get some more education out this going forward. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Pete. Thank you. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar question. I've been playing with Winlink, going to a repeater using the packet mode, and I noticed on the sound modem, it's got all the to from information and a lot of cryptic information there. And I'm trying to find it. Is there a reference that will tell me what all those codes are telling me? Because repeaters are talking to me, they're telling me things, but I don't know what they're saying.
I find, Dan, that the YouTube videos are incredibly informative, and there's a lot out there that are very radio specific. So that's always a great place to start with, and then reach out to your other ham friends, get an Elmer that can help you, especially find someone that has your same radio.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan. Gary, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. This is Gary W2MIT. My question is, when sending an email from outside the Winlink system to someone within Winlink, like their call sign at winlink.org, at one time it was necessary to put a keyword in the subject line, the / WL2K. Is that still, does that still work? Is that still required?
And the answer is yes, yes it is if that person has not been whitelisted or that email address.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, Randy.
Yeah, Randy, KA0AZS, and either I misunderstood the question or I misunderstood the answer. I got a disconnect. Earlier, one of the Garys was asking about sending, he's not getting an email. He sends a to his Winlink address and not getting a return. My understanding is you cannot send a Winlink message to your own call sign. That you, in other words, I do my courtesy copy I do to myself is to an email account. And I've heard a couple different things in the chat thing, so I want to see which way it is. But my understanding is, for instance, I cannot send an email message to KA0AZS. Apparently it sets up a loop in the RMS or whatever.
You cannot send yourself a Winlink email, mail message, right? You cannot send yourself a Winlink mail message from your Winlink client to Winlink to your call sign.
Good. I wanted to make sure that I don't think that was clear earlier, and it sounded like the Gary was going to be trying to do some troubleshooting. I wanted to correct that if I had it right. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay.
Okay, great questions here. Andy, go ahead.
Hi, this is Andy K3CAQ from Ventura County in California. My question is the contents of the message that you want us to send for the drill. When will that be released? I got two, I guess, issues. To hopefully we can get it out before the day. One, it's always good to practice, and second, we have a number of operators here in the local ACS Aries group, and I'd like to make sure that they know beforehand. They're not all here tonight, and I know there's probably another session next week, but we may not be able to get everyone here. So if we could get the listing prior to the drill, then we could be ready. Thank you.
And is Wayne Robertson on the call tonight? Or does someone else maybe have that answer? It's part of the key team. I think they were going to be sending out very soon because I got an advance copy last night. So I'm expecting before this week is up, we'll have additional information on it.
And Andy, are you on Wayne Robertson's mailing list?
I'm on the SEC Aries group. I don't know if I have got mail from Wayne, but maybe that's, in fact,
because he will be the one publishing that.
Okay, in that case, I will send him mail so I make sure I'm on the group. Thank you.
And Charlie posted his email address in the chat. Thanks, Charlie.
Any other raised hands there? Good.
I was done. Bonnie, go ahead.
Just a question about, I'm sort of thinking beyond a little bit the Red Cross drill itself, but I was looking at my, where is it at here? Oh, your Telnet properties. Right now it's set up so that you have to basically open the session to send and receive. I noticed that there is the ability to change it so that it has auto connect or polling time. How does that work? Anybody?
Sorry, I thought I was on. Yes, all you have to do is go into the settings,
right,
and you have to have that session open, and it automatically connect based on that time configuration.
So you're saying I have to have the software open in the background?
Okay, you have to have the software open. And Linda, if you want to open your Telnet session, Telnet Winlink session, just open your open session. Yes, Linda, can you hear me? I don't hear you. You're on mute. Still on mute.
My pull down's in front of it. There, I can finally get to it. I couldn't get to it to start it.
Okay.
There we go.
And go to settings. Okay. And if you go to polling time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can select the time.
Say 30 minutes,
Yes.
an update.
Okay. And auto connect is disabled. It should have been enabled. Okay, telnet session auto connect time. That's what I. Now I have not used the background polling, so.
So would
So
you
there
set,
it's started.
okay, so, but if you set that to auto connect, you have to have the actual software program open, running in the back. Like if you're doing something else on your computer.
Right.
And you want it to routinely check, you have to have the Winlink Express software open in the background while you're working on something else.
That's my understanding. Now I defer maybe to one of the developers because I see there is a background polling. I have not used a background polling, but this is how I do it. I just leave that open and leave it running in the background.
And this might be a good time to mention it, is that whichever computer you're actually using that you download your messages to, it's specific to the computer you're on. So whether I'm on the computer I'm training on tonight, the one that I have next to my ham station, the one at the Red Cross, or the one at Texas Children's Hospital, wherever I download those messages, that's where it actually shows up in my inbox. It doesn't create multiple copies of the same message. It's not one inbox. It's an inbox on each individual computer, if I've said that correctly, Dave.
It's saved on each computer, basically.
But only unique to the computer where you downloaded it.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I might make a suggestion here. I muted a while ago. I don't know if you heard me, Dave. Anything related, any information that you can send to SEC-Aries that's related to his upcoming drill, appreciate it. A lot of these people here are on that, and it will save them not missing that information. So if you can do that, I appreciate it very much. Okay, Jeff, go ahead.
Thank you. I noticed on my screen there is a reference to a GRIB file, and I'd like to know what a GRIB file is and why would I request it? Anybody?
Are you,
In
where are you
order
seeing
not to
it?
cause a problem, I will put that on chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Super. I'll lower your hand there, Jeff. And I think, unless I just lowered somebody by mistake, all the hands there. Barry, do you see any questions that we're missing?
You lowered my hand.
Nope, everything that's been answered. Any questions that have been answered in the chat, asked in the chat, have been answered.
Super, super. I will send out with the copy of all this link, I will send out this chat thing so you can go through the chat and get the pertinent information there with that. And again, I'd like to ask for any documents relating to this upcoming drill to also be posted on the SEC-Aries Groups IO so that we don't have anybody missing out. Gary, you have a question?
I do. The drill that you guys are referring to, where can I go? I mean, I don't even know what happens. What happens during this drill? Where can I go to get information on, like, right from the beginning, what the drill is, what you guys are trying to do, what's going to happen during the drill? Is everybody just going to be sending emails to each other, or what's going on?
I prefer not to represent the drill because again, I'm a participant from that perspective. So we'll try to follow up with some additional information on the Groups IO for SEC, and we'll get that information because I want to come from the official source.
That sounds good. That's very appropriate. We need to get that information out for other people too that's come in late. Okay.
There's a website for the official source.
Can you put that in chat?
Okay, I'm not aware of a website that actually has the drill information on it. I know some sections and some districts have that information, but again, we need to come directly from Wayne Robertson. So at redcross.org. So we'll reach out to him and see what we can post into the SEC Groups IO.
Okay, super. Appreciate that a whole bunch. Anybody else got any questions out there?
And just Dan, just one quick follow-up. Someone had asked about automatic background monitoring. You do not have to have the Telnet session open to receive messages if you enable the background monitoring in that Telnet Winlink configuration. So just FYI, I'll turn it back to you.
No, that's great. Appreciate all the information.
And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. You can take it back over, Dan. It's all yours.
Hi there.
Hi.
I don't. This may sound bad, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm a male. You look a lot better than your desktop.
Thank you.
Hey, Dan, someone
Yes,
asked
sir.
a question about how do they connect to the SEC Groups IO. You want to go over that?
I will put that. I will put that into the chat session.
Okay.
Janice, did you have something more?
Oh, I was just.
Janice, I may have accidentally muted you just now. Unmute yourself again and say again what you were saying.
Oh, I was going to say that there was an email that came out on October 7th from Dave KD8NZF. I don't know who that is, but I happened to get it, and it was a good explanation of the drill.
Okay, good. But we also need to have that information into the SEC Aries thing for this drill. Thank you, Janice. Appreciate that. Okay, if I can get this down, get the information you guys are looking for. I will put that into the chat real quick. So if you're not a member of this group, you can be. And let me make sure I got everyone. And there it is. You go to that link and you can view all the messages and join the group and so forth. Okay, are there anything else? I don't hear anything. I'm assuming I'm not muted. I don't look to be. Okay, Janice, go ahead.
I just have one last question. Is there a exercise 5, number 5, that we're going to get?
That just happened today.
That was an exercise they had today, Kevin?
Yeah, that just happened today. Today is Winlink Thursday number 5.
Okay.
I would recommend for those asking is get a hold of your emergency coordinator and then your Red Cross representative local to where you are, KD7 DFE in Arizona.
Okay, Kevin, that's a good idea. You might put some information. Well, I tell you what, hopefully, since most of the people here are part of the SEC-Aries saying, let's get information there. I like to get some information on the Thursday net too, so that those that want to participate in that feature going on. So if you, Linda, or Dave can do that, I appreciate that into the chat group.
And again, we're not the source of the information, so I'd hate to have conflicting or compounding information out there. I'd like
that's
to be
fair.
just one source of information.
Okay, no, I'll reach out elsewhere then. That's not a problem. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Janice, no, I just lowered your hand. I thought I didn't lower it before. Did you have something more?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thanks, Janice. Anybody else?
Just one more thing, Dan, about the SEC Aries group. If you're not a member yet and you do sign up, please put your name and your call sign. It saves a little bit of work of us having to hunt down your call sign. It's really important for the group. Thank you.
Yes, we can't admit you unless we have your name and your call sign in there. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but am I missing something here? Any questions out here?
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful, Linda. Very nice.
Thank
We
you.
had almost 200 people in here at one time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing these. I'm not the expert. I'm not even close to it, but it always seems to work. Well, it works really well because we get a team, and there's always someone, it seems, that's online that helps answer the technical questions. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time this evening.
I might make a comment on that line there, Linda. You have a tendency, we all do, to look at ourselves. There is people, a lot of people that know things. There's some people who are gifted with the ability to present them, to get it across, and you have that ability. I appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you. There's been a lot of time invested by a lot of hams, and especially Dave Underwood. Like I said, Dave and I have been buddies for 15 years now, and I've learned so much from our team here in Houston, especially from him.
Good, good. You guys got a lot of good things going on over there.
I'm just good at opening my mouth and words come out.
Well, we're all hams. So when it comes to that, we have that in common. Okay, is there anything else from anybody?
Awesome presentation, Linda.
Thank you.
Yes.
And also Dave behind the scenes.
Very good.
Dave's picture tonight actually is him sitting in my ECRV from back in Hurricane Katrina. So, yeah.
That's an old picture.
Just a couple of years.
Oh.
Thanks so much for your time, everyone. I truly, truly mean that.
Well, I hope to have you guys on again. You're very good at this, and really appreciate your efforts. So, and if any way we can help you guys, be sure to let us know.
Certainly will. Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate what your group is doing.
Great job.
Thank you, Linda and Dan.
I hear Dan there. Yes? Somebody had a question for Dan.
So thank you, Linda and Dan.
Oh,
great presentation.
Okay. With that in mind, I'm going to close this out, and I guess we'll see who we see next week. We do this every week, you know, and Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wow. Thursdays, we try to have it for Aries related stuff. 73s, everyone. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Stay safe.